The Triangle Sword Guild presents The Sword and Large Buckler of Antonio Manciolino.
Chapter 1. Get in a good guard with the sword and large buckler, with your left foot forward, the buckler arm well extended towards the opponent, and your sword in codalonga y alta. Gather your right foot near the left, then step forward with the left foot, without delivering any attacks. As you oppress the opponent in this fashion, you'll be forced to do one of two things, either attack you or retreat. Let us assume that he attacks you with a thrust. At this, you can do many counters. Starting in the guard of codalonga y alta, perform a gathering step towards your opponent to constrain them, or stringere el nemico. The purpose of this gathering step and reason is a constraining action can be found in Manciolino's Rules and Explanations, where he says, "We have both high guards and low guards. The objective of the high guards is to attack and then to follow with a parry. That of the low guards is to parry first and then follow with an attack. Be advised that from low guards only thrusts are natural attacks." So, the constraint in this play is fixing your opponent in a low guard to create a predictable outcome. Either they give the natural attack, a thrust, or as Marozzo says in Book 2, Chapter 20 of his Opera Nova, with the opponent in codalonga y alta, if he decides to throw the fendente, or the mandrito to your leg, he'll have to raise a bit. Therefore, take note forevermore that by watching his hand you'll always be able to tell what your enemy wants to do. The gathering step takes measure and leaves your opponent one of two options, attack or retreat. If they attack with a cut, either a mandrito or a reverso, they will afford you with a bigger tempo, which you can read and react to with either contratempo, mezzotempo, or due-tempo counters. If they do the sensible thing and lead with a thrust as a true attack or as a provocation, you're afforded with the many counters that Manciolino provides throughout Book 4, Chapters 1 through 9, which all see your opponent take the sensible choice and provide a variety of second intention attacks off of their initial thrust. Here in the first half of Chapter 1, we deal only with a committed thrust. To deal with the thrust using the buckler alone and to set up a variety of buckler presses we're about to see, we'll need to cover some basics. As you're gathering towards your opponent and their thrust comes in, point the thumb of your buckler hand in the direction of the thrust with the arm held at the level of the attack. Note, don't chase your opponent's sword. Close the line and let it glide past. Pass with your right foot toward his left side, delivering a reverso to the sword arm in that tempo and letting your left foot follow behind the right. Then, keep yourself safe by passing back with your right foot and settling yourself in codalonga y alta, as above. To initiate the first counter, parry the thrust by building your structure behind your buckler, thumb pointed into the attack. As the thrust slides past, rotate the buckler underneath your opponent's hands, stepping forward to add leverage to the press, and cut a reverso under your buckler that goes to your opponent's sword arm. Alternatively, if in the course of parrying your opponent's incoming thrust you find yourself over top of their hands, you can tip your buckler forward and perform a passing step. The objective here is to drive their hands down and into their person so that you can deliver a reverso across their arms and withdraw with a powerful slice. Or, you can throw your left foot toward his left while jamming your false edge under his incoming attack. Pass with your right foot toward his left while delivering a mandrito to his left leg, letting your left foot follow behind the right. Then throw your right foot back and perform a mezzovolto with your sword hand, which will get you back into your initial guard. If your opponent is wise, they'll try to time the delivery of their thrust in the tempo of the latter portion of your gathering step. Think Dalagoge's tempos of attack. By casting the left foot to your opponent's left, your hips will pull your shoulders away from the Drita Via and buy you time to complete a suitable counter. The counter is initiated by beating the false edge of your sword under your opponent's incoming thrust, then rotating the sword to the true edge with the palm facing toward the opponent. This rotation will be key to the continued progression of the counter in that it helps clear your opponent's attack from your person, while also creating a window through which you can extend your buckler to initiate a buckler press to limit any potential afterblows, and subsequently chambering the mandrito to the opponent's left leg. A few key notes from the wide view of the counter. Keep the buckler well extended in the presence of your opponent's sword hand to limit any potential lines of attack. Also, for the sake of martiality, the rotation of the back leg turning the hips is a great way to increase power generation in your cut. You could also pass with your right toward his left side, pushing a thrust into his flank, and letting your left foot follow behind the right. Then pass back with your right foot and comfortably recover in the initial guard. Stringere il nemico, and as they respond with a thrust, parry with the buckler, then drive the opponent's hands up by scooping the rim of the buckler under their hands. As this progresses, pass with the right foot and drive a thrust under your opponent's rib cage. You could also pass with your right foot forward and somewhat to the opponent's left, jamming your false edge, accompanied by your buckler, under his incoming thrust. Then, immediately strike his left leg with a reverso. Recover by passing back with your right foot and placing your sword in guardia di faccia, and finish by settling yourself in the initial guard. For the fourth counter, meet their incoming thrust with the false edge of your sword, keeping the sword and buckler connected. The purpose of Manciolino's direction here is to channel the opponent's sword into your buckler so you can initiate a buckler pass and prevent any quick counterattacks as you snap a reverso to their leg. One of the key additions to this counter is advice found throughout Manciolino's work, which is to make sure the reverso doesn't go past Codalunga Stretta. The natural endpoint of a guard allows you to quickly send your sword forward into guardia di faccia for a safe exit. Or you could pass with your right foot and somewhat towards the opponent's left side, opposing his thrust with your true edge. Then, turn a reverso to his face while passing back with your right foot. For your defense, end by pushing a thrust in guardia di faccia and recovering in Codalunga Ialta. For the fifth and final counter, with our opponent sufficiently constrained, we'll meet our opponent's thrust with the true edge of our sword. The verb here is affondare, or to drive down. I read this as a beat, making sure not to let your sword drift offline in the beat. You can rotate the hand and deliver a slicing reverso to your opponent's face, making sure the cut ends in Codalunga Stretta so you can quickly send your sword forward into guardia di faccia and cover any potential afterblows.